has anyone's son ever taken you for Eediat? Oh, how do we even spot foolishness before we've been hoodwinked? Do you get what I mean?
Yeah. I think that's the biggest problem of our generation. There's too many people and too many voices informing what standards should look like.
That's good. Think less about how you want this relationship to look and more so about how you want your partner to make you feel.
And I think it's very, very difficult to uproot an idol when everything around you is idolatrous. Look, when you play stupid games, the prizes that you win are what?
Dumb.
Hello and welcome to the To My Sisters podcast. I'm Renee.
And I'm Courtney, and we are your online sisters and hosts of the To My Sisters podcast.
Now we are all about promoting the wellness, growth and development of a community of sisters across the world.
And in today's conversation, we are going to be saying, don't let anybody's son take you for idiots. How to guard your heart whilst dating. And this episode crept up because we've been sifting through the dilemma email.
We're tired.
Guys, the amount of men that are making you guys gingered, we don't like it. And so we thought this is a mass announcement, a TSA, a social gathering, if you will,
Come bring the heads
to
in.
address everything that's going on. Okay, so how do we set boundaries, set expectations? How do we let things go? How do we overcome heartbreak? But how do we have hope? How do we have hope? So that's where we're at, sisters. As you can tell, I'm feeling a lot better.
Somebody was praying. I know some of the sisters logged into Pastor Jerry's live.
I'm telling you, what
it.
God cannot do does not exist. Your girl is feeling so much better.
Come on now.
And so, yeah, let's get into some housekeeping rules and announcements.
Sweeping the house,
Let's
keeping
do
it
it.
swept. Sisters, it is literally a month to TMS Live
Crazy
in London.
things.
We are pulling off our biggest show yet, our biggest show ever. We are seeing 1,000+ people in Hackney Empire on October the 27th in the evening. So if you haven't got your tickets, because we've been looking at those tickets, and child, you're joking.
What God cannot do does not
exist. But let me tell you something, those tickets may not exist when you go and pick them up. So if you would like to come and support us in our work, please pick up the ticket. It's literally going to be such a transformative evening. Not only will you be privy to a wonderful conversation between your two co-hosts of this podcast, but we have enlisted the help of the Avengers.
Oh,
The Avengers. We are being joined by Unjaded Jade.
Come on.
Kelechi Okafor, Miss Tony Tone.
Oh my God.
And of course, Adela Afadi and Elaine Baby.
It's gonna be a good time. Honestly, everyone is coming with their own energy, their own experiences. Maybe you might even see a little bit of a debate kick off because everyone has their different opinions. But sisters, I task you to one thing this week. If you already have a ticket, tell someone to come with you. There are sister tickets if they just need a ticket. There are individual tickets. So there are even group tickets. Okay, bring a whole bunch of y'all. Okay, and let's have a good wholesome Friday night at Hackney Empire. Because like you said, biggest girl night of the year.
And if you are an ally, you don't identify as a woman, you can still come through. In fact, if you are not a trifling man that we're about to address
maybe even if you are and you need reformation, you need to find yourself there.
This is the article. We've done several articles on this podcast, and this is the one for Q4. Look, we're entering into a new season.
Yeah,
okay?
Change your ways.
I don't know what calendar, it might be the Jewish, I don't know what calendar, what new year we're entering into, but this could be your new year.
100%.
Buy a ticket.
Buy a ticket. Honestly, I actually think a lot of men do not know that this is our first event that is open to absolutely everyone. So if you are a woman, if you identify as a woman, you're an ally, you're a man, you're whoever, you can come to this evening so that we can talk about the things that need to be spoken about.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
What other housekeeping rules are there? Housekeeping announcements. Yeah, I guess I hope you're well and prospering.
That's it.
And if you're not, maybe it's because you haven't read our book.
Oh.
So you should definitely go and grab a
that.
copy of To My Sisters, A Guide to Building Lifelong Friendships.
Written by two friends that are dedicated to that lifelong friendship thing.
And glowing and growing.
and
Yeah.
growing.
But honestly, no long ting. Let's get straight into the ding, ding, ding.
Dilemma.
Let's go. Before we get into this week's dilemma, we actually have a dilemma update. And this is an update on last week's dilemma. We love swift changes.
Reformation.
Literally. If you haven't watched last week's episode, we highly recommend that you do. But we were talking about a young lady who was dating someone. She's 21. She was dating someone. And he was basically like, I'm not ready for a relationship right now. You know, I'm going through some kind of challenges with my mental health. And then he started to just be mad disrespectful when she didn't know whether, you know, she didn't know how to feel about it. She was quite offended. Then he came back like, I've changed, I'm in therapy now, you know, let's get back together. They had been in a little situationship, and now she's thinking, do I give him another chance? Do I trust him again? So sis sent us an update. Sisters, gather and listen. Hi both, thank you for answering my dilemma. I have an update for you, exclamation mark. I decided to tell this man that I don't want to give him another chance because the disrespect he inflicted on me was too damaging to the point where I started experiencing anxiety quite heavily. And even whilst talking to him, I would feel overwhelming feelings of anxiety. There was a girl in the comment section who rightly also mentioned that I was kept on the back burner throughout the 3 years as he would cross physical boundaries with me after saying we should be friends due to mental health issues. Then went and had a full relationship with another girl when his mental health was better before coming back to me wishing for us to be together. I am pretty heartbroken as I do miss the lovely parts of our past, and it was difficult to say no to him when he was finally willing to give me what I had wanted after so long. But I also believe that this was the right thing to do after all the damage this has caused me. Thank you also for the well wishes on my final year of university. I'll keep you updated. God bless, and thank you for your help.
Oh, girl, I love that for you.
Sometimes you need to cut them off.
You do.
Sometimes you need to cut them off.
If he's taking you for Eediat.
100%. But this is a good signpost to why you should always comment down below what you think about the dilemmas as well, because we're only two people, you know? We're not the be-all and end-all of all knowledge and wisdom. But you guys collectively, as a sisterhood, we can help solve people's problems. So whenever you hear a dilemma here, please drop it like it's hot in the comments and let us know your thoughts. What are you thinking? All right. So this week, another girl is in need.
Child, if
sis,
it's about a man,
we're here.
Is it about a man?
Well, hi sisters. First, I want to say that I've been following you both since the start of the pandemic, and I am so grateful for all that you do for our community of sisters.
Thanks, sis.
My dilemma. I don't even know how to start this. You read it in the subject line. I had a one-night stand. 2 weeks ago, a friend and I were embarking on our Eurogirl summer. Unfortunately, this trip involved more partying than I would have liked. I'm really not a party girl, and I'm a low-key person, so this trip was out of my element. To get straight to it, my friend and I were drinking and partying with our hostel, and we met some people, one of which being the guy I slept with. He and his friend introduced themselves, and we were chatting and having a good time. He honestly was so cute and my type. I was interested in hanging out with him right away. One thing led to another. We were dancing, kissing, and getting ideas on where the night would go sexually. In my mind, I thought I was only going to be tempting him and not following through with anything. The sexual tension was so strong, and he knew I was teasing him to the point where he asked, "Why are we playing games?" At that point, I decided to go with it and went back to his place. Having sex with him was so bizarre because it was the first time I did it without feelings. It was difficult to be in the moment without thinking to myself, oh God, what are you doing? To be fair, he was very kind and caring. He never made our time together unsafe or uncomfortable at all. So I'm thankful it didn't take a turn for the worse, but now I am left with the feeling of being numb to my actions and who I thought I was. I have only been with one other person prior to him, and my first was someone I dated for a long time and thought I would marry. I vowed to myself that the next person I'd be with would be my husband, especially as a Christian, but I unfortunately broke that vow. Part of me feels like I did this because I'm a bit bitter that I still haven't met my husband, and sometimes I think God won't give me the type of man that I want. I struggle with wanting a Christian man, but being attracted to worldly men, or thinking that a worldly man is more realistic. I don't know how to feel. On one hand, I think I've learned we as humans are capable of anything, and something I thought I would never do happened. I have been feeling distant in my faith, and part of me feels scared to run towards it after this event. Currently, I feel numb, but I am scared to be confronted with the shame, guilt, or whatever feelings I may have about this in the future. We both have each other's contacts and might see each other in a month or so, which I feel like I shouldn't because we know what will probably happen again. But a part of me feels that I already did it. So is it a big deal if I do it again? Sigh, I am a mess. Sorry, I tried to keep this as short as I could. Thank you both in advance.
Damn, girl.
It's a tight one.
It's T for tight, man.
Well, Miss Renee,
it's giving a little stigmatized too. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you get a little tasty like this. It's so bad.
Are you serious? Not it's giving a little stigmatized.
I got a little taste. I could have a little.
Not I had a little bit of a nibble and a bite.
I could do what they beat up with big bites. You know what I'm saying? Just say it. You know when you have a cookie.
You're actually not. You're not serious.
I enjoyed the cookie. Give me a bit more. Just a little bit. I shouldn't have it. Let me have it. Okay. Being a serious person.
Yeah.
Being a serious person. First of all, sis, it's okay to be a mess.
Yes.
I think that this has been quite an overwhelming experience for you, especially just the way that you've described it. And I think I'm glad, well, not glad, but I'm happy that you've kind of quantified kind of where you're at. And I think also being a Christian, obviously we're going to speak to you Christian to Christian. Yeah. So just to
FYI.
Yeah, FYI for folks that are listening in and folks that may have differences of opinion. And first of all, shame and guilt is the biggest way that the enemy keeps us in bondage and bound.
Yeah.
And I think that whilst it is very normal to feel as though you've transgressed, and it's very normal for you to have those emotions that can sometimes be quite overwhelming depending on what you've done and depending on how you've engaged with it, it is not normal, nor should it be encouraged for you to stay in that place of shame bondage and feeling as though you're a sinner or feeling as though you've transgressed. It's happened. Not to say that it's not okay that it's happened, but it's happened.
Right, it's happened.
And I think what's really important is for you to really process like why it happened. I think you've already started doing that processing. I love the fact that you've been quite transparent and honest about the fact that you did have those bitter feelings or you did feel a bit almost jaded. And I think sometimes it's a great way for you to reckon with yourself and your relationship with God. So like, where are you with God? You're distant from God. Are you feeling bitter towards God? Are you feeling disappointment? And the thing is, a lot of these emotions can build up and be made manifest in actions which are very, very antithetical to what we believe in or who we believe that we were. And I think what's also good is the fact that you flagged human beings are capable of anything. Yeah. And this is why we need Jesus. Because not because we're perfect, not because we are just called to be good. We actually need Jesus, and we actually need a savior, and we actually need God, because we need somebody that can cover those multitudes of sins. We need somebody that can be there to hold us and bring us out of that place of bondage. We need somebody that can come for us and comfort us in these times where we feel so distant from both God, but also from ourselves. So I'd definitely say it's not a great thing that has happened in accordance with your faith. Yes, you have sinned, but it's not the be all and end all. And there is grace for you. There is glory that can be found in overcoming that transgression. I think it's also great that you've had a relatively straightforward experience. I know that there have been some experiences that people have had where a one-night stand may not have been safe, or it may have led to, further kind of issues or problems in terms of like navigating relationships with people. I think being quite clear about what you want moving forward is first and foremost very important. So identify the feelings, the emotions, identify kind of how you're feeling towards yourself and towards God. And then if it is that you are continuing on this, my hope is that you would continue on this Christian walk and reaffirming and re-energizing that part of yourself that is dedicated to following God, then I would say you need to cut off contact with that guy for a little bit of time. Okay. Just like when we're trying to change our behaviors, we often have to change our environments in order for us to change our behaviors. When you allow yourself to be in temptation, and even it says in the good book, right? Don't allow yourself to be in a space of temptation, because it will make it more difficult for you to follow the path that you want to go. So I would say for a temporary amount of time, try and remove yourself from these kind of situations. You said even yourself that obviously human beings can do different things, and you're not necessarily a party girl, but because of the environment that you were in, it definitely facilitated some, parts of yourself that you may not have been aware of. or more, it just made it a lot easier for you to transgress or go down the paths that you didn't want to go. So now you've identified that trigger, you have to remove it.
Good.
Remove contact with that guy for a period of time. You can even send him a message and say, hey, for the benefit of myself and the path that I want to go on, I may not be in contact with you for, you know, a period of time. No hard feelings. I think what's actually good here is that you're actually not entangled emotionally with him. So it should be a little bit easier for you to be able to distance yourself from him for a period of time. And then I would really focus on your faith, focus on building up your self-esteem, focus on the parts of yourself that were injured and harmed and hurt as a result of your past relationship. It's a very traumatic thing to build a relationship that you think is going to lead to marriage and have it break down. It's traumatic. And this might be some of the, you know, broken shards or the broken glass pieces that you may not have had the time or the foresight or the understanding to really clean up and take care of. So I would say block the guy or, you know, rescind some kind of communication with him. Focus on building yourself up again and focus on your relationship with God. Like really go back to, you know, reading your Bible a bit more. Really think about the company that you keep. No tea, no shade on your friend at all, because, you know, people lead different lifestyles and people are more extroverted, some are introverted. People find themselves in different environments. But if environment is now one of your triggers, you need to make sure that you are surrounding yourself with people that are in alignment with the person that you want to be. So it's not necessarily just alienating yourself from that friend. It just means, let me reach out to other friends that are also maybe Christian or also abstinent or also thinking about, you know, thinking about faith in the way that I would like to aspire to. Find yourself in more environments, like obviously church is one of them. It's the obvious one. But find yourself in more environments of which allow you to partake in things that you enjoy outside of, you know, partying and stuff like that. If you're not a party girl, what kind of girl are you? Are you a kind of girl that likes hobbies? Are you a kind of girl that likes going out on one-to-ones with their friends? Are you a kind of girl that likes swimming? Like whatever it is that you like, spend more time doing those things as opposed to finding yourself in uncomfortable situations or situations that push you beyond the limits of your beliefs and values. That is really, really important. And then also take your time. Like time can often heal a multitude of issues that we're going through and going forward with. So really take your time with obviously this processing, take your time in establishing these new boundaries, take your time in establishing or rather re-establishing your relationship with God, and then take your time with really curating an environment that allows you to be the person that you want to be. But it's very important that you outline who is that girl, like refine and rediscover yourself, write some adjectives. What is the kind of girl that you see yourself as and where are the misalignments, and then take your time over the next few weeks or months to really start stitching the pieces together so that in about a month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, whatever, you can look back and say, this happened, but I'm no longer this girl. I now match up to the vision of the girl that I want to be, and that girl is aligned with God, and her faith is also aligned too.
That's so good.
So that's what I would say. And don't let shame keep you down. We've done so many episodes where we've spoken about shame quite, you know, frankly and transparently. And I think as women, there's that double helping from society that you should be ashamed of engaging in like sexual activity, and if you transgress then it's a really big issue. And yes, it's a big issue, but it's a big issue for people, and there's a lot of people that this has happened to. There's a lot of people that have engaged in, you know, fornication and all that kind of stuff. Hello fornicators,
we've been there.
Arise and shine. We have been down and dirty. We have been biting the cookie,
but thank God we have been washed clean.
We have been washed clean. We eat our celery sticks and not our cookie.
Make me sick.
I'm gonna stop now, Courtney. I would love to hear.
I agree with everything you said. I think now it's a conversation about like boundaries and what is tempting to you. And I guess, especially in the face of maybe engaging with this guy again very soon, it may be worth, if you know, like, oh, the likelihood is we're going to get, you know, down and dirty again, then, you know, this isn't the time to see him. And it could be as detailed as what you said and as honest and forthcoming. Or, you know, if you're trying to kind of maintain your own privacy and maybe you don't have that kind of intimate relationship with him to be as transparent, you could just tell him, I'm actually really busy. I can't come and meet you whilst you're around, unfortunately. I think with this, it's great that you identified that one of the things that maybe drove you to this, and I think this is a huge level of self-awareness and introspection, is maybe you are disappointed with God. And I think that is actually the key thing you need to address. There's this really great book by Jackie Hill Perry called Holier Than Thou, which I highly recommend that you listen to. And she opens it up by saying a lot of times we think that the reason why somebody doesn't keep themselves holy or doesn't stick to certain things that they know would please God is because like, oh, you know, they're possessed with something or they're just bad. But usually it's because we don't trust that God is good, right? It's not necessarily about us. It's about whether we trust God's promises we trust the things that we have put in his hands. And I can definitely relate to the idea of I'm waiting for something. I know what I want, but God, I don't know if you'll give it to me. Yeah. So maybe I'll go and orchestrate something for myself, or maybe I will just lash out of doing things your way because I don't know if you're holding your end of the bargain. Right. And so I think it's rather getting to the bottom of those feelings, if this is a huge part of like your thinking at the moment, because it will manifest in other ways. You know, you can chastise yourself and be like, no more sleeping with anybody, but still lack that deep intimacy because you lack that trust in God in general. And that manifests in a different way, whether it's not spending time with him, not really investing in your faith. And I think shame and guilt propels those things, and it just all draws you away. And so right now it is, like you said, about really building that intimacy and trust that you have in God. And so you have to now confront whether you do believe that you can wait and have patience for what it is you're expecting, because it's out there, right? Like, God is a good father. He hears your prayers, and he's not wicked that he would hear your prayers and see you even right now in turmoil, trying to please him, you know, having guilt about what it is you've done, or having conviction, let's say, about what it is you've done, and also then not respond to you with grace. And I think that's the next thing I wanted to say. There is grace to have patience as you wait for the person you're waiting for, right? I think we forget sometimes that this journey of abstinence or celibacy is something we're doing not to prove that we are the best kind of people, but truly to show our love for God in response to the love he has for us. And I think what you should do right now is allow God to love on you, right? Like, remind yourself of what God says about you, remind yourself of who he says he is. He's not just a judge, he is the redeemer. He is the person who has made sure that judgment isn't coming against us because of our transgressions and our sins. He's the one who calls you holy. No matter what you did yesterday, he still sees you as washed clean, because it's not according to your power or what you've done, but it's according to Jesus and his finished works. Reminding yourself of these truths and not allowing guilt and shame to lie to you about the fact that, oh, now you've kind of got this, you know, scarlet A on your forehead, or this will always be your story. But I do think getting to the bottom of, okay, God, can I actually allow your grace and your love to overflow in this season in order to give me patience, right? Patience to wait, patience with myself, an ability to accept your forgiveness and accept that I can actually forgive myself for this situation. And so I'd say, yeah, like you said, it's time to do that deep work on your faith journey. But I wouldn't want shame to keep you away from coming to God and going to God's feet and just being like, you know, I actually need to be loved on in this moment, right? I need to remind myself of God's love, and I need to be surrounded by people who will imitate God's love towards me and display it towards me so that I can feel accepted, but also know that I am so much more than this event, and I'm so much more than this moment, and there is so much trust that I can put in God because of who he is. And I really do pray that you find what it is you want soon. But I agree with the practical element. Set some boundaries, you know, surround yourself with some new people, be real about conversations with yourself and with others so that they can hold you accountable as well. But sis, you got this, okay? You got this. Your man is coming soon at some point. I can't make promises.
Right,
yeah. That it's based on.
He said I can't.
Yeah, I can't lie to you. But what I do hope and pray for you, what we do hope and pray for you, is that no matter when it happens, if it happens, that God would give you the patience to be able to, the patience and also the contentment to be able to enjoy the season that you are in, whether it's being single, growing in your relationship with him. I really do pray that you find contentment in that, and hope for whatever is coming in the future. But above all, that you find trust in God and you find safety in that as well, and identity in that. Yeah.
Beautiful. Hope
that helps in some way. I'm sure loads of people can relate to that as well. Yeah, I know 100%. At some points I definitely would have needed this kind of advice. But let's get into the episode, because
It's not just a one, not a two, but more men are taking our sisters.
Many things are happening.
Crazy
things. Crazy things, as Thames said. Crazy things are happening. We seem to be living in a world where we seem to be living in a world where every day, and from generations, we're not the first, we're not the last. It seems like someone's son somewhere is acting like they don't have home training. Do they have home training?
We might need to expedite that to my brothers, because we need to bring the brothers.
What is going on
in the House of Commons? What's going on, guys?
Someone is stealing someone's money. Somebody is giving somebody STD. Someone is not showing up for the date, and then the girls are retaliating, and then they're showing their nyash. It's too much. It's too much, right? And the reason why I wanted to have this conversation about like don't let anyone's son take you for Eediat is I feel like as women and young women kind of in the dating game, sometimes we can be a bit naive, we can be ignorant, and we've definitely been there, but also I think we do need to take some accountability for how we guard our hearts, because we are pretty much the only ones who will do it, right? We have It's only us and God that are invested in the protection of our own hearts. We cannot trust anybody else with it. Let's be 100% real. You're right. And so as much as we are not victim blaming in any way, if somebody has done you wrong, we always say this, it is proof that they are a bad person, not that you're a fool. And it's important for, people to be held accountable when they do people wrong. So we're not blaming you for the bad behavior of men or anyone who's done you wrong. But what we are going to do is help you get equipped to protect your own heart so that you can hold yourself accountable as you navigate the dating scene, and you can do it with you could do it responsibly, but also you can do it with wisdom, right? So the first thing I kind of wanted to talk about is, has anyone's son ever taken you for Eediat?
God of Abraham.
Wow.
Has anybody's son taken me for
Talk to
a
us,
fool?
sis.
It's as if there's mug on my forehead. God. Full score many years ago. Not too many years ago, because I'm still a baby girl.
100.
I've had my fair share of guys on the other side, or guys where I like the phrase, the lights are not on at home. Not only were the lights not on in their home, but also in my home, it was also vacant. So it was just a meeting of two empty houses.
Right.
Yes, unfortunately, I have been taken for Eediat by multiple sons. Unfortunately, I am here to confess and say, but there is grace and there is, glory in testimony and all that kind of stuff. But I think my earliest memory of being taken for a fool by a guy
heartbreaking
was this. I was quite young though. I was like maybe 15, 16. And this was around the time where folks were using like MSN and like BlackBerry, Facebook, all that. Cast your minds back then, because I know all the girlies that are like Gen Zs and whatnot listening. I know the older girlies will be, you know what I'm talking about. And there was this one particular guy that I absolutely was just like, this was the first interaction I'd had with a guy that had actually like given me some energy back. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm liked by a guy. I like this guy. We're doing a thing. Bearing in mind, I've never met this guy. So we're talking on like MSN Messenger. As you do back in the day, sending emails. And mind you, at this time, I didn't have my own phone. And I didn't have my own laptop. So I would have to go to the library.
Okay. I mean, we all have stories. We all start somewhere. Do you know what I mean?
I would have to go to the library to talk to this man.
That can be romantic though.
God, please. I was like, oh my God, it's the weekend. I'm going to go to the library to talk to my mans. And eventually, like my parents bought me a phone, so I got a BlackBerry.
Nice. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I know. Very fancy. Shout out to my auntie C and Uncle J. So yeah, finally got a phone, and yeah, he was like, can I have your BBM? Because obviously not numbers, BBM pins. Like we started talking, and I was like, in love or whatever, or whatever they call that puppy stuff that we do when we're younger. And then like literally out of the blue, like bearing in mind this guy's like, oh, you're my girl, like I really like you, all that kind of stuff. I'm like, so when are we gonna meet? So we're exchanging messages and whatnot. He's like, babes, like I really like you, like I want you to be my girl, all this kind of stuff. And then like literally out of the blue, when like you can change like your DP to pictures, all that kind of stuff, He changes his picture to this girl, random girl. And I'm just like, oh, is this like a celebrity or something? Or just, is this your sister, your cousin? I'm like 15, so I'm like,
is this a tribute?
This is a tribute. You know, somebody died, pass away. And then, you know, when people start doing up like lovey-dovey, statuses and whatnot. So this guy's putting up statuses like, let's call her Stacy. It's like, oh, like me and Stacy forever. Me and Stacy forever, because he couldn't spell. And I just was like, hey, so what's good? Like, you're telling me that I'm your girl, like we were due to meet up and stuff like that. And he was like, oh, like I have a girlfriend. And I was like, oh, so how long have you guys been dating? And he says the amount of time that he says that has elapsed in their relationship, we were talking. Yeah. So I was just like, does your girlfriend know that you've been like speaking to me like this? And he was like, oh, but we haven't been speaking on a like romantic tip or anything like that. So that was like my very earliest memory of just feeling so like powerless, because I was just like, how is it that this foolish man, like I haven't even seen, bearing in mind I haven't met this person in person. He was like a friend of a friend. And I was like, oh, so close to finally having my first boyfriend. Like, God, just no, Courtney, don't look at me like that.
I can just imagine young Renee like, this is my man, my man, my
this
man.
Is my man, my man. And heaven forgive me, I want to say something that's rude, but
don't say she wasn't pretty.
No, not her.
Okay. Wait, he wasn't that cute.
No, he was not. Well, I didn't find him. Well, upon reflection. But anyways, that was like my earliest memory of like, oh, I've been taken for a fool. And then obviously snowballed. When you get older and the stakes are higher, like you being taken for a fool is
amplified.
It's amplified. And I think I've told this story before, but of that guy that I was talking to and dating, and we went to his birthday party, and it was his girlfriend that opened the door.
Guys,
I think even Courtney can tell this story.
Guys,
and you know the thing about Courtney is a very obvious, like it's very difficult for her to hide her like emotions. So when we, for context, for those of you that are new or not heard the story, I was like talking.
Let me tell it anyway. So Renee was talking to this guy.
Part, you know when you were like, Renee, is this your man? Renee, is this your man? Because this is his girlfriend.
So guys, Renee doesn't really like. Renee's a very private person, right? And even to me, like I won't find out something's happening in Renee's life till it's established. It's only recently that we've had a relationship where it's like from the genesis of the situation, Renee would bring me in. And so for a while she had been talking to a guy, and I found out this is during sixth form. She was like, oh yeah, I've been talking to a guy, and we're like on the tip of becoming boyfriend and girlfriend. He's invited me to his birthday in South London. Bear in mind, we grew up and going to school in North London, right? And on a school night, she's like, will you come with me to his birthday? And of course, me ride or die best friend. I was like, of course I'll come. So we take the train and 2 buses to get to South London. I just want everyone to know the extent to which I'm even suffering. So we get to this man's house, yeah, and a lovely girl who I'd actually met before, a lovely girl opens the door, and she's like super nice to us and super welcoming. It's like, oh, fantastic, super like pretty, everything.
A lovely sister of his.
Yeah. So we walk into the house and we're like, oh my gosh, his sister is so nice. Like, wow. We walk into the house, we go into where the gathering is happening. We all sit down and keying the whole night, and obviously like he hugs Renee and he's like, oh, you know, it's nice to meet me and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, I can't wait for my best friend to be in a relationship with this man. Like they seem so cute together. Now obviously everyone's doing low key, so I'm like, oh, you know what, they don't even want to allude to them being together. Like I love being the only one in the room who knows that they're basically so in love, but he's, you know, playing it cool. Maybe his mum's there, you know, they're not an official thing, so you know, why should Renee be up there? Do you get what I mean? Like, nah, it's cool. We know, we all 3 of us know the deal. And so the time comes for obviously the cutting of the cake. And this girl who greeted us at the door is the one who brings the cake in. So again, it's all confirming, oh my gosh, this is his sister. So she brings the cake, puts it on the table, and then his mum is like, oh, get in the picture, take a picture with him, take a picture with him. And we're like, oh man, sibling love. and so he's taking a picture with this girl, and throughout the whole evening, obviously because him and Renee are super low key, no one knows.
I actually despise
his friend was the one who was like entertaining us. Do you know what I mean? So throughout the night, we've been having conversations with his friend, and then his so let's call his friend Jay. His friend, we're like, oh Jay, like who's that girl? Like what's her name? She's super nice. And he's like, oh yeah, that's his girlfriend. So I'm the one who's asking Jay these questions, and Renee is sitting next to me, and I'm just like,
you know, when
I start tapping her leg, like, are you hearing this? I don't want you to be distracted. We're in South London, and this man's telling us his friend's girlfriend standing there. They're taking a picture of a birthday cake. So I'm like, oh, really? Because obviously, like, I don't think he knows that him and Renee are an item.
Yeah. Go on. And one thing about Courtney is Courtney will not hide anything.
I saw, and I was like, oh, really? Like, how long have they been together? Oh my God. Come out
say something like 2 years.
And he was like, they've been together for like 2 years. And we were like, so fantastic. And so I just look at Renee.
She's looking at me.
And then she's looking at me, and Renee keeps perfect composure, right? But you can tell when like someone's energy has shifted. So after the whole like happy birthday, cut the cake and whatever, I was like, oh, should we go home? And she was like, absolutely. We must flee from this place. And plus we're in South London, we live in North, we have school the next day. So we're like, oh, we have to go, you know, our journey is so far. And so we give him a hug and whatever, and we're like, all the best. Hopefully we'll never see you again. And then guys, this guy's friend was like, oh, I'll leave at the same time with you guys. So we're like, okay, fine. Now, one thing you need to know about my best friend Renee is when Renee is pissed off, the whole energy of the universe shifts. Like, everybody knows, even strangers can tell. Don't even breathe loudly. If you're not careful, this one's gonna shock you.
Have you ever seen a dragon and the nostrils are flaring and like the steam is coming
guys
out?
So obviously we're leaving, and I know the deal already. Renee's upset, rightfully so. I'm not gonna say anything to maybe 5 working days, you know. We don't need to recap what's happened. It's been a major blow. This guy, his friend who followed us, is a chatterbox. You know those people that they're talking for no reason. Mate. It's like she's pissed off. So now I've got to entertain him. So now we're talking, and I also don't like long talks. Like, I don't like people talking too much. Bear in mind,
it's actually the evening, and we have a very long journey ahead of us. We've taken the first bus. There's like another bus and then train that we have to take.
And we also don't know how long this man's going to be joining us on this journey.
Because we don't know where he lives.
So he gets on the bus with us, chatting. And then Renee's in the corner just looking out of the window of the bus, like having her own music video. All we were missing was rain. And thankfully, this guy gets off the bus. But before he gets off the bus, he's like, oh, I think you're super nice. To Renee, bear in mind, wait a minute. This is from my perspective. I'm the one who's been engaging with you for this entire journey. For you to now turn to someone who hasn't said, Bim! You know, is it because she's giving mysterious girl?
I was giving the energy of Edward in Twilight.
Is it because she's doing mysterious girl? It's like, oh, you'll give me your number. So then he gets Renee's number. And I'm like, well, I'm down and out. Firstly, I thought I was coming to be doing sister-in-law. This man has a girlfriend. Secondly, I've been talking to this guy. I don't even like talking to people. And then for him to turn around and ask for Renee's number. So I'm now dealing with rejection. And Renee's still not talking to me on the way home because she's that pissed off. There you go.
I think there was multiple... you know the in conclusion multiple different conclusions.
Don't let anyone's son take you for Eediat.
Multiple because I then had a conversation with, let's call him Benny.
Yeah, let's call him Benny.
I had a conversation with Benny afterwards, and it was like very awkward. He was like, oh, I want to call you, I want to talk to you, all that kind of stuff. And the first thing I said was like, oh, you know, I hope you had a great birthday. It was great, you know, talking to your girlfriend, because me, I was petty back in the day. One thing about me is I
wouldn't say back in the day.
I'm still a little petty. But I feel like it's refined petty now.
Yeah.
And it only comes out when it's justified. Sometimes. Is it ever justified? Anyways, guys. So I was like, you know, I hope you had a great time with your girlfriend. And he was like, oh, I really want to address the elephant in the room. And I was like, the elephant in the room is that you have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
She's in the room with us, as we say. As you speak, you're in the room with your girlfriend. And he was like, oh, you know, again, it very much reminded me of that previous interaction where I'd been engaging with a guy. He'd been saying lovey-dovey. I've actually been out with you. Like, we've hung out. We haven't like done anything like sexual or anything, but it was still very much given, oh, I want to be with you. He said like,
you're not misunderstanding.
There was no misunderstanding. It was very much, we're working towards like being official, all that kind of stuff. It was like, oh, like I didn't want it to come across the wrong way. I didn't know how to introduce her. I was like, how would you introduce your girlfriend when you're dating somebody else? Tell me. Maybe I need a guy to comment. How would you introduce? your girlfriend to the girl that you're dating? How would you do that? I want to know.
No, I was trying to figure out the best way to intro you guys as sister wives.
And we don't believe in polygamy here. I don't. So yeah, I was like, look, for like just the sake of my happiness and health and well-being, let's end whatever we had romantically here. Happy to still be friends. We may need to have like a period of separation or whatnot, just to like overcome feelings or whatnot. So we like don't speak for like maybe a couple of months, and then he comes back into my life and is like, just wanted to like catch up and all that. We catch up in person. I was like, how's everything going? How's your lovely girlfriend? And he's like, oh, we broke up. And I was like, sad.
How about that?
When you're dating other girls, when you're seeing your girlfriend, it doesn't make sense that this thing is going to last. And he was like, so, are you seeing anyone or anything? I was like, I'm seeing Jesus.
Yeah, what we ain't gonna do is that.
I'm seeing Jesus. And it's like, oh, like, I still really like you. I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah, for you.
One thing about me is, again, I'm petty. So I was like, oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
I wish you all the best in such endeavors. And we were like talking here and there, but it was very much, I'm over this, because the level of embarrassment to take my bestie to a party where I believe that the guy we're celebrating is due to be my boyfriend, only for him to be dancing laps and circles around the girl bringing in his cake that's also his girlfriend.
Wonders shall never cease.
To God be the glory.
Hallelujah. So I mean, we've had our fair share of situations. If
I need one from you.
There's story times on my channel. Will I ever live down those moments? I have been stood up. I have had men ask me for money. I have.
I don't know why that's so funny.
Hey, God. I've had a guy like have a girlfriend and be dating me. Very similar situation. I've had a guy try to use me for a green card. I've actually had so many things occur in this lifetime that when I gave my life to Christ, I said something has to shift.
Oh,
something has to shift. And then I was single for 6 years. So 7 years. Yeah. God, we're trusting for a change in my story. But you know what? I would rather not have the headache.
This is the thing.
I'd rather be single than have the headache. This is the thing. I can't lie to you. So dating has been very interesting. But thankfully, I actually haven't come across, like in my dating experiences, people who are trying to like run one over me. I think the thing has been having wisdom whilst dating, which is why I wanted us to have these conversations, because I think there's a way you can prepare yourself to date where you know that there are some things I will take and things that I won't take, and be able to have those boundaries and expectations and standards. But then there's also ways to spot when, this isn't. And
you, sir, are a fool.
Do you get what I mean? And you can spot it from early on. And I think that's one of the like huge benefits of wisdom, being able to know, I can already see where this is going and I'm going to avoid that. And that's why I wanted to have this conversation where it's like, how do we even spot foolishness before we've been hoodwinked? Do you get what I mean? Yeah. So I think the first part of this conversation is, how do you go about setting your standards, right? So before you even engage with someone, and bear in mind, we're not having this conversation as like relationship experts. As many people love to point out, we are not married, right? It's not news.
Ring.
Whoa. However, as people who are dating and who are young and who have engaged with like girls, boys, and who talk about relationships, whether platonic or romantic, I think we could talk about stuff like this anyway. Shut your mouth. So... So essentially, how does one go about setting standards before they've even engaged like with someone, before you've met that person on a dating app or your friend has introduced you? How do you within your own psyche be like, this is what I want?
Well, it's not going on social media and saying relationship goals. That's for one. I think that's the biggest problem of our generation. There's too many people and too many voices informing what standards should look like.
That's good.
So I think the first thing is to self-awareness is always king. Like, who are you as a person? What are some of your qualities? What do you like? What do you dislike? I think the first thing to being clear about what you want is understanding who you are. And there are very few people that actually can say, this is who I am as a person before they enter into a partnership with other people. You need to be whole before you go and find another person.
That's good.
Because if you bring just parts of yourself, it's like bringing broken parts of a car to
mechanic,
do you know what I mean? Or like you're trying to go on a journey, but your car doesn't start or it doesn't work. There are certain parts of yourself that you need to bring fully functioning before you enter into a relationship or a partnership. And I think too many people don't actually understand who they are as people. What's the vision for your life? Like, really understand what is the work, what is the call upon your life before you join with other people, because it prevents you from joining with people that actually don't complement. You don't complement well, right? And being somebody, again, that is a Christian, marriage and relationships are not just about like feeling lovey-dovey and having somebody that loves you, even though that's really important. This is a covenant with purpose. So you need to ensure that you have some kind of clarity around your purpose, some kind of clarity around the call. It doesn't need to be perfect, but there does need to be some kind of discernment so that you can say, these are the things that I care about. These are the things that I love. These are the things that I do as a person. These are the things that I was called to cultivate. And this is how I will interact in a relationship. So having a very firm sense of self is very, very important. So and of course that journey will continue, right? You will continue to discover who you are as a person. You will continue to discover your likes and dislikes, but having a firm sense of self, having a firm sense of your relationships already, like your platonic friendships, your relationship with your parents, you need to do a self audit before you think about dating anybody else, or before you even think about engaging with somebody seriously, because that is like the best way to get into a broken partnership before it started. When you yourself are broken and you have not done any audit, no check, no MOT, no nothing.
Yeah, that's so good.
So that's the first thing. And then you can start to think about what actually complements me and complements the things that I'm trying to achieve, right? What are the qualities before we get onto the physical? Because I know the physical is important.
Yeah.
What are the qualities and the characteristics that I think and I hold dear to myself? What are my values? What are the things that I hold dear to me and my spirit that I'm unwilling to compromise on, right? So it may be, faith might be something that you're unwilling to compromise. Some people do, some people don't, but faith might be a really good example. Giving and servitude might be a principle in life that you are unwilling to compromise on. Really thinking about characteristics, because outside of the physical, you have a person that you are going to interact with on a daily basis, whatever it is. You really need to think about, what is the character of the person that I would like to be with? Good. And then also in terms of what you're demanding from a person character-wise, you better have yourself, or you better be developing yourself. So if you want somebody that's giving or charitable, or somebody that is really, really finds that servitude is something that's important to them, it better be high on your list. Or other areas of self, like the way that you not necessarily, you don't have to be an extrovert and he's an extrovert or vice versa, but there are certain values and principles that we often demand from partners that we haven't exhibited in ourselves. So I would even encourage you, when you write like a list of characteristics of your, the partner or somebody that you're looking for, find ways to demonstrate them in yourself first, just so that you have a very clear picture and you engage with that person. Oh, okay, I can identify that they're a giver. I can identify that service is important to them. I can identify that, they have faith or they believe in this or whatever. I think that's super, super important. And then I would also think about the advice and the counsel that you really draw from, right? If it is that you are drawing from social media, maybe you should start thinking about cultivating the people around you that are actually going to feed into your real life. So for example, me and Courtney, we have so many conversations around partners, relationships, what we should be looking for, what we shouldn't be looking for, because as much as you've got your list, quote unquote, sometimes there are things that you can't see that your friends can. This is why there is so much safety in the wisdom of good counsel, emphasis on the good counsel. If you have people that are older than you, obviously it depends on your relationship with your parents, but there's still wisdom in their experience, even if things did not work out for them.
That's a good point.
So don't discount I think sometimes we can often think, oh my gosh, I don't want to reproduce like my parents' relationship or reproduce the broken relationships I've seen. There is still wisdom in that.
Learn what they did wrong.
Exactly. Don't discount that. Learn in that counsel too. And then also, if you can, people that are in relationships, hang around them, maybe ask them, what was it that drew you to this person? Like, what is it that are principles in your relationship, especially the long lasting ones? There's so much wisdom in those that are fresh, but there is even more wisdom in those experienced veterans. Get the vets if you can find them. And then the last thing that I would say in terms of like informing your standards, actually experiment. But experiment with wisdom too. Don't just be out here, I'm just looking for the love of my life and that's going to inform my standards. The first person I meet, I'm going to fall in love with. They're going to be perfect. No. It's not going to happen. Definitely. It's unlikely. Experiment. And also, sorry, just to go back to the point around like wise counsel, if you are, for example, heterosexual, I'm speaking from that perspective, and you're interested in men, get some good guy friends. Because they will definitely tell you some things that you will not be able to see or understand. There's just certain things that my guy friends, now in terms of like doing a CRB check, is this standard realistic? What are you going through as a guy? What are some of the things that, you know, men that outline men's experiences that I don't have sight over that can also inform that standard? Definitely get the counsel of good male friends, not the ones that party boys or the ones that are
unless that's what you want.
Yeah, exactly. If you want a party boy, you do your thing. But in terms of like, again, the multitude of wisdom from that counsel, make sure that you've got some really solid male counterparts to really inform those standards, and then experiment. Go out on dates here and there, try and figure out what it is that you like and you don't like. Obviously, don't keep like a scoreboard or like an Excel spreadsheet. If you like to do that, that's your business. But find a way to really experiment in practice. What does it look like? What does it feel like when I'm interacting with this person? What are things that are red flags? What are things that are amber flags? And then what are things that you actually like? Because I think sometimes even in standards, we often outline, this is what I don't want. I don't want this. I don't want this. I don't want this. I won't stand for this. I want him to be X, Y, Z. But it's like, okay, what are some of the really good traits that people are exhibiting that, you know, you found from your experimentation?
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, those are some of the things I would say. But
I agree with all of that. I think it's good to know what you want, but it's also good to know what you will not tolerate and what you do not want. And that's, I really love the point you brought up about, well, examine the relationships around you that may have gone wrong or that you view and think, I don't want that. What is it specifically about them that you don't want? And I think this also links me to my next point, which is think less about how you want this relationship to look and more so about how you want your partner to make you feel. Because it's easy to set a standards or to write a list and to set standards based on he must have this, he must have that. And not think about, well, actually, I want him to make me feel like this. And this is hugely leaning on and invested in character, right? And how you want him to treat you. And I think we need to talk more about the treatment that we experience in relationships rather than what our partner has, what they've achieved, what they look like. What we want to achieve in our relationship, or even having certain levels of understanding. I think oftentimes I think sometimes we put too much on, oh, me and my partner must have these exact same things. Like both of us must possess this viewpoint, these opinions. But honestly, you're probably not going to meet somebody who matches you 100%.
Right.
Your partner may have a different opinion to you. They may have, you know, different standpoints and viewpoints on certain things. And I do think that diversity of thought and perspective can be helpful. But above wanting this person to think just like you and act just like you and wanting to be able to like predict them, I think you need to have somebody who respects you and somebody who makes sure that you always feel cherished and someone who makes sure that you always feel seen. Because you can find somebody with a nice car who, you know, has that same vision for life with you, but do they make you feel like their actual partner, or are you just, or do they make you feel like their romantic partner and someone they genuinely care for, or do you feel like their business partner and somebody who they're just moving around with strategically? And for you, that might actually be your expectations for relationships, but I think you need to then outline, how do you want to feel within your relationship? What does feeling safe look like, or what does that mean to you? What does being seen look like to you? Do you want your partner to notice when you get your hair done? Do you want them to pay attention to detail like that? Do you want them to be generous and pay for everything? And do you want them to be able to intuitively know your needs? You're looking for a person with a certain character, right? You're looking for a person who makes you feel a certain way and doesn't just have certain things. So I think sometimes we can forget that people can change. And this doesn't necessarily even mean like, oh, invest in potential and all of that. But I do think there are some groundworks we need to do when we talk about romantic relationships, which is you can find someone who has everything on your list, but they may not make you feel good and they may not make you feel loved and cherished and adored. And I think we as women should have those kind of expectations. Like, I actually want to feel as though I am special to you. And I think we should allow ourselves to want to occupy that kind of space in someone's life, because I think we see so much on social media, relationships failing or relationships that are filled with disrespect or a breaking of trust and a crossing of boundaries, that we believe that all we should expect is for somebody to possess something but not be someone. Do you know what I mean? To not have that character, but to have the car or the money money or to be able to, you know, our relationship looks good from the outside, but actually it's about how do you make me feel on the inside? How do you make me feel within this relationship? And a lot of us maybe don't feel like we can expect that anymore because it feels like certain things have become commonplace. And this brings me on to my next point about standards. Like you said about the whole relationship goals, stop setting your expectations according to what you see and just accepting that because this is what you see overwhelmingly, whether it be, you know, from social media or the news or pop culture or men's podcasts or women's podcasts or whatever it is you're seeing. Don't just think, oh, I need to base my relationship expectations and standards on this because this is the current trend. No, you set your relationship expectations and standards based on how you want to live your life because you're the one who's going to be living it, right? You're going to put your phone down and then you're going to wake up to the reality of whatever it is that you accepted. And you need to really up your expectations and what it is you're willing to accept. And so really ask yourself, what am I willing to accept in a relationship and what will I not stand for? And I really want you to hold yourself in esteem enough to say, I will not stand for this, right? As much as there's room for forgiveness and there's room for grace and there's room for patience, I think it's important to know what are your boundaries, right? What are your write-offs, your red flags, your I will not, if you treat me like this, if you speak to me like this, so especially in the dating phase, maybe no, goodbye, right? No. Goodbye. And I think that brings us to another conversation around having a it's okay to let it go mentality whilst in the dating phase. Why do you think a lot of people struggle with that?
I think especially for women, because things like marriage and long-term partnership and aspirations around family and being a domestic goddess have been so pervasive in our culture for so long, we don't realize just how much of an idol they've become inside our own hearts. And again, this isn't just you just need to remove the idol from your heart. No, like society has conditioned us into thinking we have not fulfilled our utmost purpose until we are married to someone or until we have had a kid or until we have fulfilled specific characteristics of this caricature of womanhood. And I think it's very, very difficult to uproot an idol when everything around you is idolatrous, right? And I think that capitalism feeds into this as well, right? This whole idea that women getting their own together or doing other things is literally antithetical to businesses that have centered around patriarchy and centered around gearing us up to be good mothers and wives and whatnot. So even in that uprooting of that idol, don't be surprised if you find and face resistance, because that's what society has literally become. It's about how can we push women and charge women into a very narrow definition of what it means to be a woman. So it makes sense that they're still gonna you're even internally sometimes you're like, oh man, like especially for my sisters that may be in their late 20s, early 30s, whenever, and they don't have a long-term partner. They're kind of like, maybe I should be married or maybe I should have, a partner. And I thank God that we've definitely come so far as women and as a society where we can have these conversations out loud, because 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago, we couldn't even say, actually, I desire other things than
just the house, the car,
being,
the kids.
You know what I mean? Like I desire other things, but also having conversations about how it makes us feel, right? It's actually uncomfortable, especially when you are operating in this society, to admit I desire long-term partnership, but I'm not sure if this is actually going to happen for me. And there are quite a few people nowadays that it actually will not happen for. So I think for a lot of people, it's very, very difficult because A, society has conditioned us for it. B, it's a desire that actually may not get fulfilled. And dealing with the reality of that is really painful. It's upsetting because it's not a bad thing to want or desire a long-term partnership. A lot of people want that, but the reality is, can I envisage a life outside of that? For some it's yes, but for most no. Which is why we spend so much of our resources and so much of our time investing in becoming the perfect wife or becoming the perfect girl to date or becoming the person that's like attracting all the men, because we don't want to be left alone. We don't want to be left as undesirable. We don't want to be quote unquote spinsters. It even makes me think of one of the comments. I think I showed you this comment on like one of our like podcast episodes where we were talking about like relationships and stuff like that. And one person was like, oh, these two girls go home to their cats and they're going to end up alone. And
firstly, we don't even have pets.
And
very
that was
presumptuous.
what I was going to say. We don't have pets. We were going to have a pet, but we decided against it.
Yeah. Long live Puff Puff.
I know. We were going to get a really cute dog called Puff Puff, but cost of living crisis. And if she wasn't,
if she can't pull her weight,
you know what I mean? If she's not doing those little tournaments and stuff, so we can enter her in the dog park. Exactly. Enter into, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an investment. This is not exploitation, but look at the world around you. Everyone has to pay for the rent.
If we did get sisters, we'd love to know, should we get a dog? And would you support us? Take care of her expenses. Maybe she could be a community dog. Yeah. I think that would be such a great idea. I think we should get a community dog and call her Puff Puff. If you sisters are interested in investing in Puff Puff, we will open the Puff Puff fund.
The story behind the name. It's going to be a brown dog, probably like a Pomeranian or something that's, fluffy. Puff Puff.
Puff, because we know and love Puff Puff.
A golden brown dog.
There we go. Yeah. So let us know your thoughts on that. But coming back to the actual comment about, you guys are going to end up single, alone in your 30s, etc. with cats. We don't even like cats, mind you. Nothing against them. We just don't like them. And we've had many a tale about the transformative nature of cats.
Exactly.
And it was like, first of all, I was like, why do you think that this was a jab? Like, why are you weaponizing relationships as a means of getting at us? We can't speak our minds and actually talk about the fact that there is more to life than relationships, the romantic relationship, without it simultaneously being weaponized against us. And I was like, you're literally proving, you know what I mean? You're literally proving our point that it has become such a painful topic for a lot of women that people actively weaponize it against us in order to jab us and bring us down and redirect our focus back to these romantic relationships. So I think it actually sucks a lot of the fun out of dating and getting to know people and stuff like that, because in our minds, ticking over, I have to find the one to marry. I have to find the one that's my long-term partner. I have to. And it also means that many of us find ourselves, again, I don't want to victim blame, but many of us find ourselves in situations that have run its course.
Speak on it.
Because we are afraid to let it go because of all of these insecurities that we have. Yeah. So it's literally like, I think I've used this example before, but you know, when you get a cut or something happens to you and you develop an infection, it's basically like, if you don't sort out the wound now and let go now, you're going to develop gangrene. You're going to have antibiotics. You're going to have to deal with something a lot nastier than having to stitch up the wound in the first place. And I think that is what is happening to a lot of women. We are saying yes to situationships and not relationships because we think we can transform situationships into relationships. Let the situation run its course to the end. And get going.
Let it go. And I know a lot of women struggle to have that conversation and to really put their foot down and say, I deserve better than this, or I want better than this. Whether you believe you even deserve it, the fact that you desire it should be enough for you to be like, I need to put an end to this because this is not what I want for my life, right? And I think you're allowed to have that conversation that gives you the agency to be like, listen, right now, I'm in charge of where my romantic life is going, right? And because you're showing me your true character and this is not what I want, I have to go. And there is life on the other side of being single. There is life on the other side of a broken up relationship. And we're having a conversation with someone yesterday who was really transparent and honest about how, like, especially the older you get, when you're hitting those late 20s, early 30s, and you're thinking, actually, the cost of ending a relationship or a relationship failing is much higher than when you're in your early to mid 20s. And I completely understand that. And as someone who's like etching closer towards 30, there are those questions around like, oh, you know, if I get into a relationship now, this one better be the one. You get what I mean? It better be the one that makes it. But even with that though, I don't think you should sign the rest of your life away, because as much as society has done a doozy to make sure that we think that 30 is old, you still have about 50, at least like 40 to 50 to 60 years of your life ahead of you, which means you're not even halfway. And so if you enter into something which is not ideal, and actually you can discern is not what you want for the rest of your life, what you're actually giving up isn't a few years of heartbreak, it's actually a lifetime of heartbreak and now complications, right? Divorce is complicated. Having children that are unhappy is complicated. Being unhappy for the rest of your life is complicated. And so you're actually having to weigh up, is it worth that, right? Me not wanting to tell this man, actually, we're not going to work at 32, is that signing me up for another 32 years of unhappiness? Right. Is that worth it? Right. And so allow yourself to have really hard conversations. But have the hard conversation with yourself first around the fact that as much as society may be telling you, oh, it's too late. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. No. No.
We don't want it.
Yeah, we don't want it. And we're not minimizing your desire for the thing. Right? But I think you owe it to yourself to have the right thing and not just something. Do you get what I mean? I think a lot of us are settling for something, but it's not the right thing. And it's certainly not the thing that we want.
Oh, and what we need to also do, death to all of these conversations about depreciating value when you get older, or like, oh, if you're not, every guy wants a new Benz model, and like women as they get older, they start to depreciate in value. It's a crock of bullshit. It's
It's actually so nonsense. True. It's actual rubbish.
Nonsense.
It's rubbish.
Selling me crap.
I think this also links into the avenue of unlearning so much, but also realizing that the one for you is out there. But also that's actually why it's more important, especially if you do feel like, no, but let's be realistic. The older you get, especially the pool gets smaller. You know what I mean? Like, everyone always says, oh, all the good men are already married. Oh, God. Or
like,
maybe...
You're sure they're good. Some of them ain't good.
That part.
Yeah, that's for another,
that part.
Another
but
day.
It's like, okay, it feels like the majority of men your age or who you'd want to date are already married, or they already have kids, or they're not really ready for something long term or whatever. So I do actually sympathize that it may get more complicated trying to date and stuff in your 30s. The older you get and you haven't been in a relationship and you've still been able to create a life for yourself where you're happy, as much as you may not have everything, you've made it this far. So why would you now sacrifice that happiness, even if it's like, oh, well, there are some things in my life which are missing, like maybe a kid and a husband or whatever. Right. As much as those things aren't there, there's so much of your life ahead of you to still achieve those things or acquire those things. Why don't you bet on the fact that you've actually been able to create a happy life so far? And I think that's why we need to it's not that having a marriage and having kids is not valuable. Honestly. It's not something to be desired, right? You desire it, and so you should go and try and possess it. However, it's not the only thing that can make you happy, and it's not the only thing that can give your life purpose. And I think that's where we need to shift our thinking. However, what I did want to say about letting things go is, especially for anyone who feels as though it's like that sunk cost fallacy, right? Oh, but we've come so far. I don't want to now let this go. I would have wasted so much of my time.
Are you going to hell?
This is the thing. You are wasting your time regardless. You letting it go is not the only way you can waste time. You in this unhappy relationship is wasting your time. Do you get what I mean? So allow yourself to either work on it and make it something worth your time, or let it go, because you're wasting your time anyway.
Oh God. Have you seen the film Drag Me to Hell?
No.
That's what makes me, there's like at the very end the scene where sister she's packing it in, you know, she's going downstairs, and I'm like, damn. This is the image it's conjuring up. It's like, oh, we spend so much time together in hell. You have not known a moment's just problems, no peace.
Why but this are you
so invested in that?
This is also something to say. Dating can also still be fun. Oh, yeah. As much as there are so many like examples and tweets and content out there where it's like, the dating streets are a mess. And obviously we talk about like guarding your heart and stuff like that. I genuinely want to say that there are good relationships out there 100%. And they are not something you're disqualified from. Right. I think we can often think, oh my God, I want good relationships with my friends, and I'm so glad when I see somebody do that, but it's too late for me, or every past experience I has been negative, so I'm not going to get what it is that I want. If you go into it with that mentality, you're never going to give yourself the chance to actually possess what it is you desire.
Absolutely.
So remind yourself of the fact that if they can have it, I can have it too, right? And so I'm going to work on setting my standards, setting my boundaries, knowing what I will and won't accept so that nobody can occupy this space. Absolutely. Whilst I'm actually waiting for the right person to come, and so that I'm not wasting my time. But also have hope, and hope often looks like actually putting yourself out there and not necessarily kissing the frogs, but just being like, okay, I'm gonna try this dating thing, and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna meet different men. Don't have to commit to anything, don't have to sleep with anyone if that's not my steez. And I'm just going to get through them so I can learn more about what I want, what I don't want, but also so that I can increase my chances of meeting that person, 100%. Right? I think a lot of us are waiting for the person to come to us. And I think one thing about dating is you can afford to be directive. And being directive doesn't necessarily mean leading a relationship. It means actually taking the responsibility to give yourself the best chances whilst you are dating, and to orchestrate your dating life so that it's like, actually, I do have the potential to find someone here, because I'm not hiding away. I'm not just praying for something. I'm actually putting myself out there, and it can feel vulnerable. It can feel hard, and it feels like you may be opening yourself up to be hurt. But hopefully with certain principles like setting standards, having boundaries, having expectations, knowing what it is you will and will not accept, you'll be able to sift through things a bit quicker and navigate through dating with a lot more wisdom and protect your heart along the process. And I think the last thing I wanted to talk about is, how do you make sure you don't give your heart to someone too early or too quickly?
Because that's a thing, right? People love bombing.
Exactly.
And that kind of stuff. I think it is taking your time in the process of dating. I think because many of us, again, go in with the whole mindset of like, I'm here to find my significant other for the rest of my life. You're like, I need to speed up this process yesterday. So it's like, we have to have back-to-back dates. We need to be like outside all the time. Take your time. I know it's fresh and it's exciting and it's like, oh my gosh, I'm with somebody that I really like. Sister, please at least give it a month or two. Like, just like percolate
and sit in the freshness of that excitement.
Percolate, you know, do other things whilst you're dating as well, because I think sometimes we like almost clear our calendars because like, oh, a new guy has come out, like, is he gonna take me out on Thursday, Saturday, whenever? I'm always gonna be available.
Don't be too available, please.
Close your calendar,
please.
Whatever you agreed to. I don't want to be hearing, hey sis, I'm gonna have to cancel or change something we've had in the diary for a month because this new guy has come in and he's, you know, he's cute. I don't care.
Remember, you have a life. You have a life outside of this person.
So I think it's that, right? This person is a priority, but they don't have to be the priority all the time. And you still have a life outside of dating, and you will continue. Exactly. And you will continue to have a life whilst you are dating too. Until you guys have come to a place of prioritizing each other, until this is how you get out of situationships. Until that man or you have decided we are together, we are exclusive. I don't want to be hearing, oh, I'm shifting up all of my plans for you. I'm changing all of my life. No.
And this is what's leading a lot of people to pain and suffering. In anticipation of the thing you're hoping for, you're rearranging your whole life to be that wife, to be that girlfriend, to be his one. Do you get what I mean? But he hasn't asked you. Until he asks and he initiates and he completely makes it clear that this is what it is, don't go rearranging your whole life. Don't go changing who you are. Don't go changing your schedule. No. You're single until you what? He's made it clear that you're not. Until he has, don't presume, don't assume, don't read into things. We don't do interpretation. We don't do interpretation.
Let me tell you something. If there's one thing that I've learned from a lot of my guy friends, men are very simple creatures.
100%.
When they say something, that's when they mean it. If they haven't said it, none of this,
guys.
And this is the problem with like when we see things like Twilight, the Twilight franchise. Oh, I'm just reading into how he's feeling. And this man was stiff as a stone. He had the expressions of a cardboard box. And sis was like, oh, he loves me so much. And like the way he peers into my soul, I just feel like he's just reading me. And that, this face that he's making, even though he looks like he's constipated, I'm sure that he is just a sounding
dumb.
A fool.
That's how you ended up becoming a vampire, Bella.
Sisters, don't let it be you. There are wizards out here.
Guys, no. We vow to each other as a sisterhood. No more interpretation dating. Okay? No. You must make it clear to me. What are we?
Oh my God, he's going to ask me out. But did he?
He hasn't yet. So stop moving like he has. Not, we just haven't understand. No, you don't. Because that's how we were in South London. That's how we were in South London.
I'm telling you, interpretation will have you traveling like a muppet.
Do you get what I mean? People that should be studying for A-levels. We're in South London at our party.
I was so pissed. We didn't even get to take any takeaway back. I was like, I don't want to eat this food. Yeah.
I don't even think we took cake.
To go to like a predominantly black gathering and not come back with food, that's how you know we were pissed.
Do you get what I mean? Like, no more
interpretation
dating.
Nothing to show for it.
No more, I think this, I think that. No. Unless that person has given you words that you can take to the bank and you can present back to them like, hey, this is what you said. This is how you said you treat me.
Hello,
this
somebody.
is what you said you do. This is what you said I am to you. And I'm expecting you to hold yourself accountable to these things. We're not shifting our whole lives.
And no compromising your values the hope of speeding things up.
Come on, or that they'll change.
You know what I mean? Hey. It's like, oh, you know, maybe if I give him the goodies, or maybe if we do this, then he will start behaving like this. You do not need to give this man is not a dog.
100%.
Don't be giving him a bone to try and tempt him and change his 100%. Mind and stuff like that.
And actually, all you've done is prove to him that he can be rewarded for what he's giving you.
Bare minimum. Which is bare minimum. Don't be a bare minimum girly. We are an exceeds expectations type of girl.
We are a community of excellence. So obviously this is relevant to you. You know, it's what you want and it's what you want to give.
Absolutely.
We're not dictating to you.
Nothing.
It's not a dictatorship.
Not even.
All right, it's a community.
A minute dictatorship.
No, do you know what I mean? It's a democracy.
Yeah.
But there's leaders.
Yeah.
Do you get what I mean?
As your leaders that have been spun around the block like fools, idiots, mugs, complete just look, when you play stupid games, the prizes that you win are what?
Dumb. Stupid, foolish.
Stupid.
Rubbish.
So how can you complain about the prize that you were given when you were playing in the leagues of foolishness? You were in the lanes of the dumbfounded.
And on that note... like we said, we are not we are not the beginning and end of all wisdom. We literally just come on here and we chat. So honestly, we want to hear your comments down below.
We're friends that hold each other accountable.
Exactly. And we're friends that are learning.
You know what? If you're dating somebody and you're like, oh my God, he's close to interpretation, ask another friend. Because imagine, we might not have gone to South London had I not talked to Courtney beforehand. Had I not told her, hey, I'm dating this guy. He's giving me all these signs. There may be a couple of shiftiness, things that I can't see.
It's true.
Okay? Get your friends, CRB check. Get your friends to interpret with you.
If only young Courtney and Renee knew this, you wouldn't have been on that bus that night. Delulu. But honestly, sis, like we said, we just come and we bring the topics. We want to hear from you in the comments. Leave a comment here on YouTube. Leave a comment on Spotify. Leave a comment on Instagram. Let's get this conversation going at To My Sisterhood, literally everywhere on social media. But you can also follow us individually. My lovely best friend here is at Renee Kapuku, and I am at CD Boating. Yeah, have an amazing week.
You better have a freaking amazing week and don't be stupid. And whilst, in fact, smart things that you can do is sign up to the mailing list. 100%. www.tomysisters.com for more tips and tricks on how to avoid being a fool this week.
We don't have tips and tricks, actually. We don't. We have commentary. That's what the girls say. We have commentary. Before somebody says, you said we should, and now I'm here. No,
we have to cover it. We don't
have a how to. This is not a course on how to secure a man.
It's not. It is absolutely not, because we don't get what paid.
But also we don't know.
We don't.
We don't.
We are not the experts.
And actually, sorry, let me even restart this. No one knows. I actually want to put that out there to anyone who's about to sign up to a course or a prayer something or a group or something, or somebody telling you, let me show you how to get a man. They don't know. They don't know. Unless they are a witch, unless they are a magician, there is nobody. There is no one who can give you the play for play. Because look at how many women have channels where it's like, let me teach you about how to be this and how to be irresistible, who are actually single. And this is no shame to anyone. It's to say that a lot of these things, and I'm, as believers, I'm gonna say this, it's just about God, God's timing, God's favor, and you being aligned with what God is doing in your life and has planned for you. And so there are people who can point you in the direction of alignment, but there is no one who can give you the play for play unless they are truly the biblical definition of a witch, as in somebody who can control and orchestrate absolutely every factor that goes into these things, right? So I just want to put that out there for someone who's about to buy a course or sign up to give somebody something or to just follow someone who's telling you lies, right? The reason why we can't give you tips and tricks is we don't have all the answers.
We're also not witches. There
you go.
No, we're genuinely not.
All we can do is advise you and give you counsel on how to be aligned with what God is doing.
You see how in the word it says go and be fishers of men? That's not what they
We
meant.
just want you to be aligned.
To preach the gospel, not to go and fish for men.
Guys,
I look like a fisher.
Stop that rubbish and that nonsense. Honestly, no, because I'm so sick of people preying on single women who are, rightfully because of all the things you were saying earlier in the episode, desperate.
Have you
really
seen that thing that was
longing.
floating on social media
What?
of the prayer gathering of single women, and they were like in their 30s and they were wearing wedding dresses?
Yeah,
to
I
the-
saw it.
First of all, there are certain things that should never end up on the internet. That was one of the things that A, shouldn't have happened.
Yeah.
But B, should never have ended up
My
on the
thing is,
internet.
I don't mind a prayer gathering. I don't mind you standing in faith, because I've had people who have like stood in faith with me, or we've had
100%,
prayer mornings or whatever,
100%.
being like, let's pray into our marriage, is fine. My thing are the predatory people who are like, I will charge you because this is what will guarantee you the future that you want, or like, come to me because I have all the answers, or I'm the missing part in your story.
Yeah.
No.
He said no from me, dog. The only missing part in your story is the Lord.
Hallelujah.
Jesus Christ.
And what he'll reveal to you is maybe, and you can't control what he reveals to you either. It could be that God is like, actually, what I have planned for you is way higher than what it is you're planning for yourself. And it may not even be marriage, but it will be something that fulfills you. It will be something that helps you fulfill purpose. It will be something that you'll find contentment in. There is plans that God has for us that exceed our own plans for ourselves, and that are abundantly more than what we could plan for ourselves. And so it doesn't always look like getting what we want, but it is getting his best.
Jeez.
And that's what we want. That's
Glory
what we
be.
want for you. And that's what we want you to be aligned with. So anyway, sign up to the mailing list.
That was the longest outro ever. Sisters, please sign up to the mailing list. But also, we are praying for God's best for you.
Yeah.
Not your expectations, not your best,
not
but what
society's pressure.
the creator of the universe has intended for you. We pray that this is the week that you step into alignment
Hallelujah.
with those plans. And whether it be a marriage, whether it be a job, whether it be a calling that's on your life, we pray that this is the week that you are stepping up in alignment with it.
Amen.
So sisters, on that note, we are up and out, your sisters in Christ, your sisters in fellowship. Until we see you again next week, keep glowing and growing.